Hey everyone, want to make a video about a little tactic that I've been playing with recently, just on medium settings, just to demonstrate the concept. But basically, this is somewhat of a deadly tactic. Might even be considered almost an exploit, but it's pretty neat. It's got has somewhat of a historical basis to it. It's not a U-boat tactic per se. The method is called Ausdampfverfahren, and it's shooting by constant bearing, actually tricking the TDC into a solution without any data. Okay, so what makes it somewhat of an exploit is that you can actually it's if you get a constant bearing and not have to get any data, assuming your constant bearing is very good and is indeed pretty constant. You can take advantage of the fact that that at very long ranges, range makes even less of a difference to your solution because the parallax error is less. So for example, if I set the TDC to say 6,000 meters or so, and I set up some fake shot like this, okay, if I move range, if you watch the gyro angle dials, if I move range, it barely moves the gyro angle, okay? But now if I move range closer, now it's really moving the gyro angle, right? That's called parallax error. So the fact that if you're shooting from far out at somewhat of a larger gyro angle, you can take advantage of the fact that the parallax error is going to be pretty minimal, okay? Meaning, if I have a 1,000-meter difference in range, well, you can see that that's not even a fraction of just barely a fraction of a degree on the gyro angle, okay? This is one of the inherent, I don't want to say issues with the game, but one of the reasons why I think it's a good idea for some sort of steering error, torpedo mechanical steering error, depth keeping error problems, or duds, like time-based duds, are almost a necessity in this game, because a shot from 5,000 to 6,000 meters on no data, like I'm about to demonstrate, and getting hits on a regular basis is definitely not historical. Okay, so I'm hoping that that we can maybe get some additional realism in the game by way of torpedo failures to make this very tactic right here no longer really plausible. Okay, it's certainly plausible at a shorter range, but the fact that I can pull it off at long range is it's not even really a demonstration of skill per se. Just the torpedoes are perfect, and makes this tactic very viable. So what I do is I start off pretty much on the beam of the convoy, and when I say beam, I mean to get as close to 90 degrees as you can. I would say, workably anywhere from 60 to 90 is probably okay. You can see based on the alignment of those king posts right there that our angle on bow is approaching somewhere in the ballpark of like 60 to maybe 65 degrees. So we're probably okay there. What I'll do is I'm going to run in. This is you can almost think of it as boom and zoom for U-boats. Okay, I'm going to pick a target, and I'm going to run in on a constant bearing on one target. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my TDC up in a certain way to trick it into a solution using my own speed and the bearing, the constant bearing. Okay. I'm not going to get any closer. I'm going to try not to get any closer than about 5,000 meters or so. The trick with ranging and the fact that you're at a close to 90 AOB really makes this viable. Is that you can use the horizontal center radians as a measurement for range when you're close to 90-degree angle on bow, right? So what I've assumed is targets range anywhere from 100 meters long to 150 meters long or so in the game. Well, if you take the longest possible target of 150 meters, okay, and you divide it by 10, right, you get 15. If you multiply it by 4, because you're on 6 magnification, you end up with 6,000 meters. All right, so I say use 10 for any target, because you're all going to fall in that range, and if they're shorter than 150, well, that means they're going to be closer than 6,000 anyway. 6,000 is the limiting range for the torpedoes in game. Okay, so I just launched this game. I have not been in the game, but only maybe 5 minutes or so. I happen to spawn right beside the convoy like this. This is perfect. So I am going to go ahead and run in, and just to demonstrate, I will first take a shot for the first demonstration on this ship right here. We'll get a constant bearing on him. Okay. So what I'm going to do to get somewhat of a more advantageous angle, I'm actually going to head up to full speed, and I'm going to go the long way around, just so that I can bend back and hopefully get a little more of an advantageous angle on bow. So we're going to just turn a little bit. Just going to swing around the long way here to let myself get a little bit more on their beam. So I typically do this at full speed ahead. It's going to give me about 18 knots. Also, turning like this the long way around allows my speed to ramp up appropriately. Now, there's a little trick to setting the TDC exactly for speed. I won't demonstrate it here, but basically, I have a separate video on it, how to precisely set speed in the TDC. But there's a way to do it with doing a little math, but I won't do that now. But what I will do is I'll just make sure I get up nice and close here to make sure that we are indeed exactly on 18, because 18 is going to be about what we're going to be at full speed ahead. So I want to set the TDC to my own speed, okay? And I could probably set up the rest of the TDC how I like it, 3 meters. The range is going to be pretty much maximum. That's pretty much good for now. So, alright, so we will, whoops, just check to see where we're at here. So we're at very, very long range right now, obviously. We're gonna run in on this target right here. We're gonna get a constant bearing on him. No data, no course, no speed. Simply our own speed in the TDC, and then the bearing, the constant bearing that we derive, will be set to the AOB. So since I'll be going so fast, and I have no idea of their speed, I have no idea what the constant bearing is going to be, so this is where a little trial and error comes into play. So I'll start with putting him about 20 degrees off of our port bow to start with, and we'll watch the bearing drift from there, and we will make adjustments as necessary. Now we're going to be making course adjustments, right? Adjustments to our own course in order to get that bearing change suppressed completely. We'll have to watch this escort right here. If he keeps coming up, he might be a hindrance to us, but we're going to try to shoot at no closer than 5,000 to 6,000 meters, so hopefully that still gives us enough distance away from him where we won't be sighted. That's the advantage of this. So you can get rid of your torpedoes outside of any chance of being detected and just run away, and then go rinse and repeat. Okay, so all right, so let's go down and check our speed, make sure our speed is stabilized before we try to get the constant bearing. All right, that's pretty stable right there at 17.9. It's probably going to oscillate between 17.9 and 18, but we'll check it again after we're done with the constant bearing to see where we're at. So I'm just going to go ahead and set to AP now. All right, so okay, so here we go. So what we do, the first step, we've centered the rudder. Now we put our vertical wire on a particular point on that ship, and we watch the bearing and we see if it drifts. Now that actually, we might have gotten a little lucky and suppressed that bearing change already without having to do any work. But we will we'll see here. If we can get close enough, we might be able to actually shoot this target and this target. This might be a difficult target right here, just because these are overlapping, and the torpedo will probably hit this target first. We could try it, but maybe on the safe side. This one would be a good target to shoot at as well. This and this. But I think what I said initially is we'll just start with shooting the one target first, just to demonstrate how it works on one target, and then we'll work on multiple targets after that. So there's a little trick you need. So the bearing is actually dropping back slightly. You can see that wheelhouse is moving ever so slightly back. Okay, so we're gonna just adjust our course just a little bit. We're talking to the tune of a couple of degrees. That's all. All right, and then you can see these targets are coming out nicely now. Keep holding this up periodically and measure against the 10. Once that target gets, he's not going to get quite 10 away. You know, he's probably not 150 meters long. So when he hits the 10, he's going to be much closer than 6,000. So we'll have to take that into consideration. Okay, but I'm not going to look anything up in the rec manual or anything like that. Maybe I guess we could probably try to shoot all three of these. Well, I'll just stick to the one for now, and we'll go from there. So, but I've had pretty good success with this method. This is not, again, this is not a historical method. I like to play historically most of the time, but once this dawned on me that this could be a viable tactic in the game, from strictly looking at it through a Wolfpack lens, I had to do something about it. So this is really a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun to do it. So the bearing looks like it's popping forward a little bit, so we're gonna just try to ever so slightly. So this is just an exercise in just tweaking. You know, we're getting pretty close now to the point where we're gonna shoot. You know, be mindful of the escort always. But get that wire right back on the ship, on your reference point on the ship, and watch. So you can see right the back end of that wheelhouse is what we're watching on the wire. That's pretty close right there. That's probably good enough. We can set the TDC up. So I just so happen to have it centered on the target I want to shoot. I come to the TDC. I've got angle tracking set. I look at the bearing, and I count from 0. I say it's 10, 20, 21.9. Alright, we're left of our bow, so 21.9 is the bearing away from our bow. Okay, we're 21.9 degrees away. So I set, and the bow is right, so I set 21.9 right. 21.9 right, okay, and I set it, I'm going to set the TDC right around there. 5,000-6,000 meters is enough. Now my TDC is ready to shoot. Okay, I don't need to do anything more than that. I can see it even drifted forward a little bit, so maybe we'll aim just a little forward. All right, this is more than close enough to shoot. I can go ahead and shoot. Let's go ahead and shoot. We're just going to do this one target, and I'm immediately going to turn away. All right, and I'm going to turn away and put them roughly on the same bearing from 180 that I had them on from my bow, just so that I'm getting a constant bearing moving away. That way I never really leave their beam. Okay, I zoom in, I boom, and then I zoom. This is boom and zoom, if you're familiar with World War II flight sims and energy fighting tactics, whatever you want to call it. This is that really for U-boats. Get in there, shoot your torpedoes outside of, any chance of getting detected from the escorts, and turn, run away, wait for the booms to happen, and then once the boom happens, I will I usually cut down to dead slow and just wait for them to reform again, and then go in and do it again and again and again and again. Now, I have done this on medium. I have not done this on hard yet. Hard, obviously, you've got a couple of additional considerations, one of which is you've got more escorts, so you need to be more mindful of where the escorts are. But as you can see right there, the escort really didn't pose a problem to me at night, just because I could shoot from well outside of his screen. Okay. The second consideration, of course, is the zigzags. Well, the minimum time is somewhere in the ballpark of 15 minutes, so that gives you plenty of time to do plenty of damage. Maybe even to the tune of a couple of these types of attack runs before you need to reassess. So On medium, they will change course after they've been struck, and so that needs to be taken into consideration, that you might need to sort of recalibrate, reposition yourself once you strike them for the first time. So we'll see what happens after this one hits. But it's going to be a little bit of a wait. We shot from anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 meters away, so you're going to have a wait time. But I would highly suggest watching my video about how to precisely set target speed in the TDC, because you need to have your own speed. You need to have that speed dial in the TDC set pretty much exactly if you want this to work. You can't really have much error there. So a bit of a waiting game here. This is really almost sort of a lazy way to play, but it's a lot of fun, and it actually demonstrates. It's just interesting, more almost from a math perspective, how this works. So we will hit it. There's no doubt about that. This is more or less foolproof if you can get that constant bearing down pretty exact. And the advantage of having it yourself at full speed ahead, so like 18 knots, is the fact that the constant bearing will be closer to your bow, therefore the gyro angle will be lower, therefore range will matter even less. So that's why running it at 18 knots is probably your best bet with this tactic. Probably a few words about daytime engagements. I've not tried this during the day yet either, but I think if, unless the spotting ranges change in Wolfpack, they're currently running around the ballpark of 4,000 to 4,500 meters. You might need to dive and then shoot, but that definitely needs some further testing on that. So we will wait and see what this target hits here. They're obviously going to freak out after this hit happens, right? But assuming they return back on the course that they were just on now, these three targets right here, thinking ahead to the next shot, would be ideal for this next approach, or even some of these. They're close together like this. We could boom, boom, boom. We could pop all three of those in our next run here. So we hit that target. The target that was that we shot at actually dropped back a little bit, but we actually hit the target that was behind it. That target there was overlapping that target when we shot at it. That target looked like it dropped back a little bit. So had that target not dropped back, we we would have hit that one. All right, so at this point, we're gonna wait until they stop freaking out, and then we'll make another attack run. But in the meantime, we'll turn parallel just so we don't get too far away from them. Yeah, as we were running away from the target there, I noticed that target started dropping back a little bit, and it was making me a little nervous. Hopefully this next time around, everything is going to be maintaining, and we don't, and we hit what we shoot at here. All right. I would not advise going in and doing one of these run-ins while the convoy is still freaking out for obvious reasons. You know, they're zigzagging. The escorts are on higher alert, so you know you can't quite get as close as you could before. Yeah, it was pretty thick when we hit there. Yeah, again, I mean that's not the one we shot at, but the one we did a constant bearing on. If you noticed, it had dropped back relative to where it was before. It was overlapping that ship that we shot, overlapping the ship that we ended up hitting. So, all right, so give them a little time, and if they end up coming back to the course that they were on before, hopefully they do. We'll have a few targets that are pretty solid, one next to the other, that we can go for. So the trick with that is that you still get the constant bearing on one target, but then what you do is you switch the TDC off, okay, and that'll freeze the TDC into that position. You note the gyro angle down, okay, and then you basically don't move the scope at all, right? Note the gyro angle down, and then we'll turn the boat to put the wire on the next target we want to shoot at, and then readjust the AOB until the gyro angle gets back to the angle we noted down. Okay, it'll be a little more clear when we do it, but what you're basically doing there is you're shooting with a fixed gyro angle. Definitely would help to have not be solo if you're going to do multiple shots like that, just because you know you're going to need to have be talking helm onto giving helm the rudder commands versus going to the scope and checking it and then going back again. But you'll see what I mean when we get that far. So there's an escort out in front there. All right, there's this guy here. So it's usually good enough if it looks like they're maintaining their old course again. As soon as the searchlights go off, before they've completely settled back on their course again, you could probably start accelerating again for your next zoom in. But we still have some searchlights on here, so we're going to wait a little while. And we'll keep an eye on what that escort right there does. Or we could even run back and attack these targets back here. That might be also a good option. Just to fall back. There is an escort right there, but that shouldn't be too problematic for us. Yeah, there's even actually a few. Oh, this guy's going all the way over there now. There are actually a few good close targets close to one another over here, so we might actually go that route. This guy's on his own program here. He said, screw it. Those lights are out right there. So we'll keep an eye on them. See what they do. I don't want to start coming in too soon if they are indeed changing course, so let's just watch and see what these guys do. If the course change isn't too radical, we obviously can always adjust our own course to get the constant bearing, but the problem with that is that if they literally, and I've had this happen to me before, where all of a sudden they start turning bow onto you just because they've decided on that's the course they're going to steer, and that's that's obviously problematic for you because you've got a very, very narrow target to shoot at. This method, lives and dies by the fact that you're shooting almost off the beam, so you've got the widest possible target, or thereabouts anyway, to shoot at. So I think these guys here are pretty stable. These two here, we can probably run in on these now, so we're going to go ahead and accelerate to full speed, and we're going to prepare for our next zoom in here. Go ahead and start turning in now. It's going to take us a little bit to get up to the 18 knots, but we can, obviously accelerate while turning. We're going to be pointed pretty close at this escort, but that's going to be fine because again, we're going to hope to not get close enough where he's going to see us, which is kind of the whole point of this. Looks like they're pretty much settled on the old course again, so. Even this cowboy's coming back. Or so. Probably have to adjust that a little bit. Alright, center the rudder, make sure we're stabilized, we're getting there. Okay, got about a knot to go. The other alternative with this, those of you who have paid attention to any of my stuff, you know that you can compute target speed based on a constant bearing as well, which is the whole theory behind matching, speed matching. You can actually, as long as you can estimate the angle on bow pretty accurately, you can use the TDC to do that as well. Maybe on one of these runs we try that out. Okay, 17.9. I wonder if let me adjust the speed just down ever so slightly, just because it might not quite be 18. Not that it's really going to matter too much, but just be be on the safe side. Okay, so yeah, so these guys are pretty stable. Whoops, these guys are pretty stable right here. We'll use this mast right here. We'll get the constant bearing on one of the further targets first, and then we will go from there. So the bearing I can already see is moving forward. So we'll lay some rudder and just bring it right back again to get some good course change there. Go back to that ship, get that mast on again, and watch the mast behind the wire. That'll be our sort of our focus ship right there. Alright, so now it's moving backwards. So now we come back a little bit. Okay. Alright, so now we're back on the mast again. Just double check the escort. Okay. Back on the mast. Moving slightly forward. A couple degrees. Check the escort. Good. Okay. Back to the mast again. Just trying to suppress that bearing change. That's going to be pretty good right there. Should wait a little longer. You know, starting far away gives you the advantage of having all this time to run in and really get it nailed down. So it's moving just a little stern. If it's moving backward, you got to turn toward it, right? And if it's moving forward, you got to turn away a little bit. Alright. Check the range. Okay, the range on this one right here is pretty good. The range on these guys is pretty good. It's probably doable. We'll wait a little longer and then we'll pull the trigger. Because what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to. We can even turn and shoot at this target as well. We'll try that one again. We'll try boom boom. We'll try 3 on this one. Okay. So that's probably pretty good right there. I'm going to center this. Set angle tracking. I'm going to count 10, 20, 20. 20.6 right, 20.6 right, okay, and I'm going to keep it at 6,000, alright, and then I am going to make sure it's centered on that target, okay, just like this. Oops, just like this. Alright, I'm going to set angle tracking off. I'm going to note the gyro angle. The gyro angle is 351.2. 351.2. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot, switch. I am going to turn ever so slightly. Center the rudder. Check where we're at. Alright, that's a little far. Coming back just a little bit. Remember, 351.2. So I changed the angle on bow to get back to 351.2 right there. Shoot that one. Now I'm gonna come right, and I'm gonna go after not moving the scope. Remember, not moving the scope. I gotta turn soon because of that escort, but I'm gonna come back and try to get that other target right there. And I might have to manipulate the range a little bit on this one, just to make sure it's good. Okay, center, you know, for somewhat further forward on the target is okay. 351.2 and shoot, and then I'm gonna lay rudder and get out of dodge fast. Okay, that's cutting it close with that escort right there. Cutting it very, very close. So again, the targets we shot at were this one right here, this one right here, and that one right there. Hightail it as far away as we can. We'll even put them just on our 180. We don't want to be anywhere near that escort when the fireworks start. Alright, now we zoom away. So that guy there, that guy there. We shall see here. I should be starting the stopwatch here, but that's okay. Yeah, when you turn like that in a fixed gyro angle, sometimes it's good to aim more at the extreme ends of the targets, the other targets you shoot at, like here and then here, just because of the fact that because the angle on bows are slightly different, that gyro angle is technically not 100% valid because of the slight differences in AOB. So to account for that, whoop, okay, there's that one right there. There's that one right there. Now hopefully this guy hits. There's that one right there. Okay. Yeah, and I actually didn't even need to aim that far forward there. You can see I sort of hit where I aimed with some of these guys, but you know, that's okay. So that's how you do it while turning. You can plink targets off basically at maximum range like that. There's pretty decent, you know, margin of error. Or room for error in this, I should say. Yeah, this guy's hightailing it to catch back up to the convoy, and now he's gonna start freaking out again. So right at this point, since we got the booms, we're gonna go dead slow. We'll wait again, okay, and then the next one we can try. We'll try some of these ones that are further ahead. So we got a 3-fer on that one. That's the best case scenario. I've not tried it with any more than 3 solo, just because it gets to be a little overwhelming. But you know, a threesome like that is good. But the key is to get some good tight targets that are close, sort of next to each other, and then that's really what you're looking at, is getting some targets that are like in a little tight pattern, so you don't have to turn very much. And because the more you have to turn, the more those angles on bow are different between the targets. So therefore, the more that gyro angle is, the less that gyro angle is valid. Okay, so we're gonna keep playing. I mean, this is no sweat to get this 30,000 goal in no time, just running in on this constant bearing with no data, right? So, and again, it's because we have pretty much perfect torpedoes in the game that this is possible, okay? Yeah, depending on how, okay, so now let's go ahead and just turn parallel again, just to not lose too much ground. We'll wait for our next run in. Wouldn't be too surprised if they changed their course, their base course after that attack, but we'll see. Let's see, okay, that escort is there. That escort is there. So this next run, you know, these guys might make sense right here even. This guy is pretty far forward. The escort's pretty far forward now. So if he maintains that station, maybe we do these guys next. So it's really, you're just, each time around, you're just sort of picking your next victim out and making your run in on them. Yeah, I need to stress, because I have tested this out several times. I need to stress: do not try to run in at this point. If you've got somebody who's, you know, lollygagging like this guy here, and oh, look at that guy, looks like he's ripe for getting, you know, he's not changing course much, he's going super slow. I could totally pick him off. Don't do it, because these escorts are on heightened alert right now, and they will see you from much further away than would be the case if they weren't alerted. So temporarily turning away. I mean, I guess while we wait, one thing we could probably do is just simulate what the other method would be if you're running in on a constant bearing. So let's say we got a target that's at 25 degrees from our bow, 10, 20, 25 degrees from our bow. That's the constant bearing. Just pretend there's an imaginary target out there, and that target's angle on bow is 90, okay? So we get a constant bearing on it right there, okay? Let's say we're going 18 knots. Alright, so we've already got the 18 knots set into the TDC, right? We've got the range right about where we want it, you know, max range or whatever. Let's say that target's bow is going right, okay? Let's say angle tracking, okay? All right, the bow is going right. We've got the constant bearing at 25 degrees, or 25.2, okay? So 10, 20, 25.2, and we know the bows are going right. So 25.2 is right there, okay? Now, to get the speed of the target, we look at the gyro angle. The gyro angle is 349.5. And just to make a note of it, just type that somewhere, write it down, 349.5, okay? Now what we're going to do, since that was a valid solution, we're going to put the angle on bow that we know it to be, or can estimate it to be, 349.6 rather. 49.6, right? Oops. We're gonna say, okay, well we know it's 90 right, all right. Well, so we set what we know it to be 90 right, but now we have to get back to that 349.6. Well, how do we do that? Well, it's the speed. 349.6. 349.6. 349.6. 349.6. All right, so right there. Okay. So the target speed is that 7.5. That's how you use this to compute the target speed. You get the constant bearing, which provides you a valid solution. Okay. You make a note what the angle on bow is at that constant bearing. You set the TDC up for the constant bearing, get the gyro angle, note the gyro angle down, set the AOB to what you know it to be, then adjust the speed such that you re-arrive at that gyro angle. That's how you compute the speed, by constant bearing with the TDC. Okay. So that's just different method of doing it. Okay, so it looks like they've calmed down again. We can run in again. Let's go ahead and accelerate back to full speed ahead. Let's go ahead and set our TDC back to 18 because we'll do this again. It's a little much. Here we go. Okay. And we'll go ahead and turn in. Ready for our next zoom. I don't know. A boom and zoom for U-boats is not a good term. I think of a better name for this tactic. I don't know. I mean, zoom. I don't know. It's the COVID crisis, so everybody's using Zoom. Well, this is the Zoom I'm using right here. So that's how I've been spending my time. No, that's not entirely true. I do have a wife and kids that are arguably much more important than this. But this has been fun at night after everybody goes to bed, and I can kind of play around with this a little bit. And I should mention that how I started thinking about this was I was on with Yamasito, who's a prominent member of the community, and he had seen the video that I made about Ausdampfverfahren, about this constant bearing shooting method, and he wanted to try it out in game with some guys, and he did it successfully. But what was interesting about it is that they had a guy on the AP who had gotten the range wrong by something like 1,700 meters. Well, they still hit, okay, and they had a pretty decent gyro angle. I mean, it was, they were going at 16 knots, and they had a constant bearing maybe around the ballpark of 40 to 45 degrees or so. So they had a bit of a gyro angle going, and they still hit the target, and that's what made me. And then it dawned on me, it's like, well, yeah, of course, because the parallax error. That's what I demonstrated at the beginning of the video, with the change in range having very little impact on the gyro angle at long ranges. Is minimal at long range, and so therefore, because we have perfect torpedoes, I mean, it stands to reason that you could effectively do this method without very many consequences, as long as you get it right. So now we need to decide who we want to shoot. Okay, so we need to come a little right, so we're really not set up for anybody yet. Let's see. We could take this guy and let's see. The gap is more back here, so I'm more inclined to take this guy and then maybe that guy. So we'll see. We'll try to get a constant bearing on this guy first. Need to turn quite a bit. Yeah, they really haven't changed their base course much at all here. Alright, we watched that. Okay, clearly the smokestack is moving forward, so we need to go further go. Okay. Check the escort. Back on the target we want, which is right here. Watch that. Okay, now it's falling backwards, so now we kind of split the difference a little bit. Come back. Number of degrees. Reacquire him right away. You know, watch, don't move the scope, just watch, watch, watch. Moving backwards slightly again. So just... Okay, there we go. It's pretty close right there, pretty close. Check his range. And the range might be okay. It actually might even be okay shooting at these guys. In fact, let's do that. Let's actually pick this. That one might be a little far away. Probably get away with shooting. Oops. Let's just get the constant bearing here first. It's pretty good right there. It's pretty good. Yeah, we can try to shoot him. So boom, boom, boom. Let's try those. Go from there. We'll see what that gives us. Just make sure we've got it. Alright, we're even losing a little ground there. I'm hoping they're not changing course on me. We don't have a whole lot of time to lose here. Yeah, he appears like he's dropping back ever so slightly here. I may just aim a little aft on him and go from there. Alright, so let's set this up. We've got 18 knots are set. We've got 10, 20, 20.7 right, 20.7 right. Okay, range is going to be around 6,000. Let's just get back on the target here. Alright, that's going to be pretty good right there. Let's go ahead and set the, and note the gyro angle, set off. Gyro angle is 351.3. 351.3, let's shoot. Select the next target. Lay some rudder. 351.3, let's not forget that. 351.3. Alright, let's start centering it up. Okay. Oops, too much. 351.3, just repeat that to yourself. 351.3, shoot, select, turn again, shooting the next target, which is right there. Start centering it up, and probably a little far. Right there, good. 351.3. Fire, and then let's get out of dodge. Let's see what that does for us. And then this time, let's go ahead and set the stopwatch. That's very close to that escort. It's way too close for comfort. He's positioned a little unfavorably for that. But we'll see what happens. That's playing with fire a little bit right there. Do not have a lot more wiggle room there. Yeah. Sometimes they're positioned a little further away from the convoy, sometimes they're closer, but you have to just sort of play the odds a little bit there. Alright, so just to reiterate, we shot at this guy here, we shot at that guy there and that guy there, or this guy here also, sorry. Boom, boom, and boom. The one that's right behind that escort right now. Yeah, we need to get out of here fast. Alright. That's probably good right there. Yeah, so that guy, I believe this guy right here, and then I believe that guy right there. Those are the ones we shot at. So we'll see what happens. Pretty decently wide dispersion, maybe borderline. Ideally, maybe you want them a little tighter together, but the problem is when they get tighter together is then sometimes both torpedoes hit one target. But it's definitely not an exact science. It is and it isn't, I guess. So. We got a while yet. I'm about halfway there. Key is you got to remember that gyro angle. You got to say it to yourself or jot it down or whatever. Is you need to be able to set it back to that once you finish turning. Okay, there's that one right there. Don't take too long here. There's that one right there. No, it's just down to this guy right here. Change course too much, buddy. Might have been too far apart. Meaning it took me too long to turn on to the target and get the torpedo off. Causing me to have too much time between the shots. Yep, so maybe as a rule don't make them that far apart. A little closer together on the eels. Yep. Oh well, missed that one. Yeah, so it might be the takeaway is get them in a tighter pattern, closer together. All right, let's hit dead slow. still left with a couple on the back end of the convoy here. Probably these 3, but again, we don't want to turn too much. So I might... there's going to be 1. And with all those overlapping targets, who knows if we even hit the one we shot at. There were a bunch of them there that were tightly overlapping, so it's not quite clear to me which one we hit. But yeah, these guys will all return to course hopefully, and then we'll have a nice tight batch of these targets to shoot at. You know, and if you can't get a tight batch or whatever, or you're in doubt, which I probably shouldn't have shot at that last target, just do onesies, just one at a time, and you know you're almost certain you're going to hit the one you get a constant bearing on. That's the key. You're almost certain that you're going to hit the one that you get a constant bearing on. You can pretty much take that one to the bank. For a minute there, I was a little nervous. Alright, so these guys are hightailing it this way again. This guy is just kind of lazily sitting there. Just gonna put some speed on and just turn away, just because I don't like the way a lot of these are turning toward us. In this instance, I wouldn't be surprised if they just do a general course change. So let's run out on this course here for a while and see what they do. Give us a little bit of lateral separation here. And we'll see if they stay on somewhat of a right to left course here. If they do, then we should be in pretty good position. Yeah, this is strongly looking like a general course change here, and if that is the case, So we need to wait and see. These two might be an option here. These two would be an option there. Just wait and see here. Now they look like they're turning back to port again. Right, that guy looked like he's turning to port. I believe he is. Yeah, these guys are all returning back to that way. Okay, which means we need to lay right full rudder, get ready to position ourselves for the next zoom. They are indeed look like they're going back toward a course more in line with their original course. Alright, let's just take a look here. Got here, okay. Yeah, slowly but surely they are doing that. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and kick it full speed ahead just to get some lateral separation and then to get up to our attack speed. I'm thinking these guys here. Back around toward these guys' beams here. Speed it up a little bit. Again, we're looking to be at like a maybe to 60 to 90 degree AOB on these guys when we start our run in, just to maximize the surface area that we have to hit. That escort looks like he's moving further ahead at a speed faster than the convoy is currently right now, so I'm actually going to go in and zoom on those two right there and see what happens. We're going to go by way of right rudder to sort of tucker in to the more to the beam of these guys here. We'll make our run in, start our run in on these guys now. Hope that escort doesn't give us any problems. That should be an easy 2 to knock off right there. Go ahead and set our scope to about 20 degrees. second. Yeah, see, the fact he's moving so far forward is really going to be to our advantage. You know, us tucking back like this is giving us the advantage of having these two really tight together, even more tight together, which works in our favor big time. Of course, then again, we have these three, which are also very, very tight together. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and shoot these three right here. They're actually looking like a better combination to shoot. We'll actually get the constant bearing on the furthest target first, because that's the one we're going to shoot at first, and then we will work our way from furthest to closest. All right. Escort is looking good. That guy's asleep at the switch. Okay. Alright, so let's watch that guy there. He's moving very slightly forward. So we need to turn a little to starboard here, just a couple of degrees. And watch him again. Looks like he's moving aft ever so slightly, so just a couple of degrees back again, just to really squeeze that out. Check the escort. Okay, that's good. Everything's good there. Okay. Right, so there's that. Watch that again. Just be mindful of the range. So this is under 6,000 right now. That is going to be borderline right now, so as soon as we get that constant bearing, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go ahead and pull the trigger. Right? Just keep an eye out here. It's going to be pretty good. It's probably close enough. Center it on the target. Make sure angle tracking is on. Count the degrees from 0, 10, 20, 21.3, 21.2 right, 21.2 right, set about 6,000 meters, speed is set at 18 or so. Let's just make sure that we're, okay, alright, and then note the gyro angle is 351.1. Okay, so we go ahead and we shoot. Select the next one. Remember 351.1. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and get on the next target. Right there. Then we go back to 351.1. Shoot. Go to tube 3. Lay a little rudder. Go on to the next target. Center it there. That's a little far. 351.1. 351.1. Fire. Alright, and now let's get out of dodge. Alright. Yeah, alright. That was much more of an ideal attack type of situation. We're still very good distance away from the escorts. Pretty much borderline on the range. Good tight pattern of targets there. So let's see what that does for us. Should probably start the stopwatch. Understanding that, maybe 20 seconds at a lapse there or so. 30 seconds. Right. And we can just whittle away at the convoy doing this. Never really being in any real danger of the escorts, except for, a couple of those approaches were not ideal, just because we didn't necessarily shoot the gap. We went in despite the escort being there, and we cut it a little close. But Even for medium though, there's still a decent number of escorts here. I mean, you got 1, 2, there's another one over here, 3, and 4 at least. So I mean, you know, this is still a pretty decently escorted convoy here. We'll just put the ones we shot at right about on our 180. We'll call it good. Okay. Watch. So that was it. Boom, boom, and boom. Those three right there. Very tight. You can see. You know, maybe, I mean, if we want to make a hard, fast rule, how about this? How about we say if you can fit them into this box. You see the box that's formed by your center radian scales on the bottom and on the side there, and then the crosshair. If you can fit those laterally in that box, then shoot at them all. Otherwise, if any fall out of the box, don't bother with them. And maybe then that's a hard, fast rule to go by then, to say, okay, that I know that the gyro angle that I shoot with, that fixed gyro angle is still going to be valid. So it's not by any means scientific, but it might be a good little rule of thumb to use with this. So, all right, so we'll see what we do here. Let's turn a little bit to port so we get somewhat of a more of a constant bearing here. That way we're not losing ground on the convoy front to back. Still not going to have quite a constant, but that's okay. To get a constant bearing, we'd just basically get the sort of the reciprocal of what the constant bearing was before, which is 21 or something like that, right? So that's what you would do if you wanted to do a stern shot, which maybe we'll try that too. Is we'd have to come in first and then turn away while we're still close enough, establish the constant bearing. Whoop, there's that one. Okay, there's one. Not sure which one it hit, but alright, so there's that second one right there. Number 3 should hit now anytime. The one we had the constant bearing on in the first place, which is this one right here. That should hit at any moment. We shot at that one first. He just must be that much further away. Now I'm hoping both of those torpedoes didn't hit that target there by mistake. Could very well have been, since they were overlapping there by the end. But we'll see. Oh. There it is right there. Okay, so that was the furthest one away there. So I think maybe both of our torpedoes might have hit that one target. They were overlapping by a little too much, but I don't know, maybe that one did get hit right there. I have no clue. I guess we'll watch and see. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and drop dead slow. Our torpedoes have hit, so we can rest assured we've gotten some pretty decent separation there. And then wait again. So, you know, I think I've shown this method, you know, pretty sufficiently at this point. What if we wanted to in this next go around? We could probably try the other method of setting an angle on bow and actually getting the actual speed. And then the advantage of that is that you don't have to do any fixed gyro angle stuff. You know, your gyro angle is going to be pretty much valid no matter where you aim, because of the fact that TDC is going to take change in AOB into account. I'm interested to see if that's the guy that got hit. That's the one we shot at. We shot at that one, and one more. And I'm wondering if that other target didn't get hit twice. We'll see if that one starts settling in the water or not. I don't know. Boy, this guy here is a real wild card. This guy's moving every time they start freaking out. This guy goes apeshit. All right, now this guy's speeding up, so I don't think it hit him. I think it hit the. I think both torpedoes hit that target that was overlapping it. So that's a slight imperfection with this whole method is you know, you got to be careful with the targets that could possibly overlap one another. And so, you know, the more I do this, the more I sort of realize that maybe 2 apiece might be a safe limit to do instead of 3. But I guess it remains to be seen. The problem, you know, you need to have an angle on bow that's pretty spot on to get this to work, and so you know, the advantage of approaching a convoy in that manner is that you can look at least one ship that's very close to 90, like King Post 90, and get the AOB off of that ship, and then just turn the scope. So that's definitely an option. Yeah, I'm fairly certain we didn't hit that guy. The other one got in the way. Might be these 2 guys we go after next. I'm just going to start swinging back around to get more on the beam. These guys look like they turned away. So I'm hoping that they turn back again on the course that we like. But we will see. Turn was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. Back, I guess they may have changed course away from us permanently. Let's see. They may be coming back around now. Let's go ahead and center it here. Hoping they come back around again. It's looking to me like maybe they did change their base course. So we need to reposition a little bit. But we'll keep an eye on those king posts and see what they do. For this next method, ideally, we're gonna want to run in on a king post 90, and then we're literally just gathering data on the fly, using very accurate data on the fly using the constant bearing and an AOB. You know, this is by no means hip shooting. This is mathematically deriving your answers using the TDC, or you know, you can do it with a calculator as well, but you can just so happen to do it with the TDC as long as you remember the gyro angles. Yeah, this is looking good. They're kind of coming back to their base course a little bit. Let's go ahead and center the rudder here, and we'll try to gain a little. They're not quite at a perfect 90, okay, but we can run a little further here off the beam to get a 90. And all we need is a 90 on one, right? Because we're just gonna assume that they're all gonna be traveling on the same course. And then, as long as we're within a few degrees of 90, or a few degrees of the AOB rather, we should be in pretty good shape. And this might, depending on how this works out, this actually might be the superior method, just because you can then shift fire like you're normally used to with the Wolfpack TDC, instead of having to turn on a fixed gyro angle, but we'll see. Close to 90 on this guy, or really close enough for government work. So to really test this out, we could probably even fire all 4 eels at all these 4 targets and see if we could almost obliterate the rest of this convoy in one fell swoop here. We'll see. I don't think we're quite at the 90 for this guy, but that's okay. Already at full speed, okay. We're awfully close to it though, that's for sure. You know, maybe 90, 93, 94 or so. You probably start centering the rudder now. Right, so, okay, so then we're going to try to get a constant bearing on this guy here, knowing, oh, that's pretty damn close to 90 right there. But we're not going to set 90 yet, right? We're going to just watch carefully what I do. We're going to first get the solution based on the constant bearing, and then we're going to set the real TDC information up, or the real AOB in there, and then derive the speed from it. Let's make sure our own speed is set. 18 knots is set. Oh, we don't have 4 eels. We only have 2 forward. That's alright. Okay, so let's watch this. Now we're going to have overlapping issues again. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, it's pretty close right there. Pretty close. Alright, so let's, if that's close enough, which I think it is, let's compute the target speed. Okay, so we're going to do, actually, let's go just a degree or two to the right. Yeah, okay, so let's compute the target speed. So we're going to assume that that's, now it's slightly, maybe less than 90, okay, so maybe like 89, 88. Alright, so first let's compute the gyro angle, okay, the solution. So we know the bearing is going to be 10, 20, 26.4, 10, 20, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.4, 26.4, and that's going to be right. 26.4, right, okay, alright, and then we know that the gyro angle is going to be 348.8. So let's go in here and say 348.8. Alright, that's what we want to get back to. Alright, so we know that the AOB there is like 88 right. Alright, 88 right or so. Okay, we want to get back to gyro angle 348.8. So we do the, whoops, we do the by way of the speed. 348.8. Is that right? Yep, 348.8. Right about there, okay? That's it. That's the target speed. 7, just a hair under 8 or so, okay? So that's that, okay? So then now the TDC is set up with the correct solution information. We can shift targets, we can shoot, we could turn, we should probably turn to minimize the gyro angle, okay? So we'll do that now. We have now got the TDC set up like we normally would, okay? The solution in there should be valid. So let's go ahead and turn and minimize the gyro angle. And then we'll go ahead and shoot. We'll put our bow somewhere in the middle of these 3, and then pick 2 out and shoot the 2. That's probably good right there, actually. All right, let's take a look and see. Range is good on that one. Range is going to be good on that one. That one's a thick one right there. Let's try to shoot that guy right there. Okay, so we're going to try to shoot him. Gyro angle looks pretty good, 6,000 meters or so. Let's see if this works. Okay, center of the target, good. All right, let's set the tube 4, and then we'll go ahead and shoot him. Boom. Whoops. Oh, yeah. Whoops. Yeah. Okay, and then shoot him, and then I don't know if it's going to work to get the stern. We're not going to be able to turn in time to bring the stern tube to bear, but that's okay. Let's just see what these two do. So again, we do a little different method that time. We got the constant bearing to get the gyro angle first, and by way of then set the AOB to actual, and then work backwards onto the gyro angle, and that gave us the target speed. Now we may hit any one of these three targets here again, because you know we got these overlapping target issues here. So we could, who knows what we're gonna nail there. Okay. We'll see how this works out, and we'll end it after that. But the biggest thing I wanted to show was the other way of the just shooting on the constant bearing. But this is also, with further testing, this could be the superior method. Just getting the actual data sort of in a roundabout way. So. That's plenty far. Okay. Again, this guy and that guy. And we calculated a speed of, maybe just under 8 knots. Check the gyro angle, you can see, or the AOB, you can see it's pretty close. That one looks like it's just over 90. Yeah, so I don't really see any reason why we wouldn't hit so close to a perfect 90 on to estimate the AOB. second now. I don't know. Maybe something went wrong there. I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure what happened on that one. Theoretically one would think that would work, but again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what would have gone wrong with that, because we had everything dialed in pretty exactly. But who knows? There might have been so it's possible that, you know, even slight AOB errors at that range. I mean, it is true that, you know, AOB errors will affect a shot at that long range like that. So it could very well be that even a slight AOB error in your estimation, even to the tune of a couple of degrees, actually might make a difference at those extreme long ranges. But as you could see from the other from the method before, you know, that getting a constant bearing and just shooting off of that at long range is incredibly effective. We missed one torpedo, but that was because the bearing shift to shoot the next target was too far, and the gyro angle wasn't quite valid anymore. But as long as you shoot, the big takeaway of this is, as long as you shoot the a target or a couple targets that are in a tight pattern, close to one another, you can take advantage of the fact that the gyro angles are going to be not very different, because the AOBs are not very different from one another for those shots. So you can get the constant bearing on the one target, shoot it, okay, and then turn on a fixed gyro angle and shoot subsequent torpedoes at subsequent targets, and have pretty much a valid solution on all three of them. Just getting a constant bearing on one, without getting any data on that one, just simply running in on that constant bearing and setting your TDC up appropriately. I would not use the method we just tried. It's purely a trial on the at extreme long ranges. It will be valid. It will be a viable solution at closer ranges, but again, in Wolfpack, sometimes night surface attack is somewhat difficult. But I will say this: if you can get within 2,000 meters on the surface, which you should be able to in Wolfpack, at a 90-degree impact angle, which is roughly what we had here, you're allowed to have a speed error of about a half a knot and an AOB error of about 10 degrees. So we were certainly within 10 degrees of error, 10 degrees of the AOB here. We certainly were closer than a half a knot on speed, so we would have hit those targets had they been at 2,000 meters. So the second method that I demonstrated here, it did not work at 6,000, because even the slight difference in AOB caused us to have an error. At closer ranges, say at maybe 2,000 and below, or even just maybe a hair above 2,000, certainly a viable option. At 4,000 meters, you're talking about 0 speed error and maybe 5 degrees plus or minus on AOB. That's it. So it stands to reason that at 6,000 meters, like we were, it's even less than 5 degrees. We would have needed to be within a couple degrees of accuracy, which maybe we weren't. So that's probably why we missed those targets. That's how impactful range is. Your accuracy is at long ranges. So anyway, long video, I get it, but this is a very, very viable tactic. The first one anyway, of running in a constant bearing and shooting with no data. So hope you enjoy. that was a good 73,000 run, no data at all. So.